Welcome back to Rasan's ASMR Journey. I'm Rasan, and I'll be doing the journey. And today we're going to be diving into some facts about a British sitcom called Keeping Up Appearances. So, excuse some of the background noise. I'm doing this in the daytime. And excuse my bad lighting. I didn't hook up the ring light today, as you can tell. And as you can tell from my thumbnail picture, it's not the greatest. Apologies there. I'm being a bad YouTuber today. But let's go ahead and get into some of these facts about the TV show Keeping Up Appearances. And also, if you could do me a favor, I got some different settings on the mic today, and I want to know if those settings are okay for you all. If not, I'll go back to my usual settings. Alright, let's get into the very funny sitcom Keeping Up Appearances, and as usual, I'll be looking down, reading the facts off of my phone, so let's go. Keeping Up Appearances is a British sitcom that aired from 1990 to 1995. It centers on Hyacinth Bucket, pronounced Bouquet, a social climbing snobbish woman obsessed with projecting an image of wealth and sophistication, even though her actual circumstances are far more modest. She constantly tries to impress her neighbors and acquaintances, often dragging her long-suffering husband Richard along in her schemes. The humor comes from her pretentiousness clashing with reality, her awkward interactions with her lower-class relatives, and the endless social faux pas that ensue. It's a classic mix of farce, character-driven comedy, and biting satire of social ambition in Britain. Now let's get to the facts. By the way, her name is actually pronounced Bucket, but she runs around and always tells people her name is Bouquet because, she's upper class and uppity, and she could never have a last name that was called Bucket. It's gotta be Bouquet. Anyway, let's get into the facts. Keeping Up Appearances is a British sitcom created by Roy Clark. It originally aired on BBC One from 1990 to 1995. The show ran for 5 series with a total of 44 episodes. Patricia Rutledge played the main character, Hyacinth Bucket. Hyacinth insists her last name pronounced Bouquet to sound more refined. Hyacinth is obsessed with social status and appearances. Richard Bucket, Hyacinth's long-suffering husband, is played by Clive Swift, and it's hard for me to actually call her actual last name, which is Bucket, because in the series, every time somebody says Mrs. Bucket, she is always correcting them and saying Bouquet. So Bouquet is kind of stuck, so anytime I kind of stop on that, that's why. Hyacinth often tries to impress her neighbors and host social events. The humor largely comes from Hyacinth's snobbery clashing with reality. Hyacinth has 2 sisters, Daisy, who is more relaxed, and Violet, who is eccentric. Daisy is married to Onslow, a lazy, scruffy man who frustrates Hyacinth to no end. He frustrates her. The show highlights the contrast between social classes. Hyacinth frequently calls on her refined neighbors, the Pierces. The character of Hyacinth became iconic in British comedy. She sure is. Patricia Rutledge won critical acclaim for her performance as Hyacinth, as well she should. She played that role. The show often features slapstick comedy and misunderstandings, and she was really good at that slapstick. I mean, anytime, Hyacinth's face got dirty from something or she fell down, she really did slapstick good. Everybody did on that show, actually. Hyacinth tries to befriend everyone in her social circle to appear important. The The series is set in suburban England, mainly in Hyacinth's home. The show was filmed in and around Yorkshire. Roy Clark, the creator, also wrote Last of the Summer Wine. Each episode typically revolves around Hyacinth's attempts to impress others. Hyacinth's wardrobe is often colorful and perfectly coordinated. Hyacinth is known for her obsession with hosting tea parties. Yeah, she's always trying to get her neighbor to come over for some tea. And anybody and everybody to come over for some high tea, man. She frequently interrupts Richard, who is gentle and patient. Yeah, Richard can't really get a word in edgewise. Her poor husband is always drug along on these, like they said, on these schemes of hers. He's the straight man all the time. Sorry about that whistling, guys. He's the straight man all the time. And sorry about the noise that's in the hallway right now. I'm trying to talk over it, but we might have to take a little break here. I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back, guys. I think it's quieted down just a little bit, so let's keep going here. The show satirizes middle class pretensions and social climbing. Hyacinth has a habit of over-explaining herself in formal language. Onslow is often seen lounging on a sofa in Daisy's house drinking beer. To Hyacinth's chagrin, he does do that. He relaxes in his own home and drinks beer, and she just can't even with all that slobbishness. She's just like, oh my god, no. Hyacinth frequently interacts with the local vicar and postman. Yeah, the postman comes by and calls her name, and she's always telling him, oh, it's Bouquet. I got some mail from you, Mr. Bucket. It's Bouquet. Episodes often involve farcical situations caused by Hyacinth's schemes. Hyacinth fears embarrassment above all else. The show became popular internationally, airing in countries like the US, Canada, and Australia. Hyacinth's voice and accent are deliberately posh and exaggerated. Many episodes revolve around Hyacinth inviting the wrong people to events. The show never had a traditional series finale. It ended naturally after 5 series. Patricia Routledge has described Hyacinth as delightfully outrageous. The comedy often comes from contrast between Hyacinth's ideals and reality. Hyacinth is highly critical of anyone who perceives as lower class. Sorry guys, noise. Onslow, her brother-in-law, is considered the anti-Hyacinth character. He sure is. The show inspired a few stage adaptations in the UK. Hyacinth has become a cultural reference for social climbing and pretension. The show's theme music was composed by Nick Ingman, and theme music is really good too. A lot of UK seem to have, the UK shows seem to have some theme music that's a bop. Episodes often feature Hyacinth trying to impress new acquaintances. Hyacinth's obsession with appearances extends to her home garden and social life. The humor often relies on misunderstandings and awkward encounters. Many viewers relate to Richard's exasperation with Hyacinth. But he still loves that woman, and he's still there for it, which I love that about Richard's character. I mean, Hyacinth would put him through the absolute ringer, but he's still there because he loves her. He loves her, you know. And the heart wants what it wants. Onslow's laziness and Daisy's practicality highlight Hyacinth's absurdity. Hyacinth has been called one of Britain's most famous TV snobs. The show's DVD releases include all 5 series and some specials. Patricia Routledge has won BAFTA and Oliver Awards, though not specifically for this show. I'm shocked. Keeping Up with Appearances continues to be syndicated and loved by audiences decades later. Alright, now let's get some quirky facts coming up here. Hyacinth Bucket insists her name is pronounced bouquet to sound posh. She says it about 1,000 times per episode. This is true. Richard Bucket, her long-suffering husband, is the ultimate straight man in comedy. Sorry guys, my stomach decided to chime in on that one. Patricia Rutledge improvised some of Hyacinth's more ridiculous lines. Oslo's laid-back beer-drinking character is an icon of British laziness. Daisy and Onslow's love for casual, messy life drives Hyacinth insane. The show's creators purposely exaggerated Hyacinth's social climbing for laughs. Hyacinth's obsession with proper china and hosting perfect tea parties is legendary. Richard is always polite, patient, and utterly terrified of his wife's ambitions. Onslow was played by Geoffrey Hughes, who also played Eddie in Keeping Up Appearances' spiritual predecessor, The Liverpool Saga. Many fans quote Hyacinth's catchphrase, "It's bouquet, not bucket." Yeah, the show pokes fun at middle-class British pretensions of the 1990s. Hyacinth tries to befriend the Pierces, her proper, quote-unquote, proper neighbors, in almost every episode. The Pierces are frequently annoyed or confused by Hyacinth's antics. Hyacinth's sister, Daisy, and Violet highlight different versions of, quote-unquote, real life. Daisy is the practical, down-to-earth sister, while Violet is a bit eccentric. Episodes often involve Hyacinth crashing social events or inviting the wrong people. Hyacinth is terrified of social embarrassment, especially from her relatives. Oh my god, every time any of her relatives came to anything, Hyacinth wanted to just either quickly make them disappear or dig a hole and crawl into it. Richard often ends up hiding, escaping, or apologizing for Hyacinth's chaos. Patricia Rutledge wore bright, perfectly coordinated outfits for Hyacinth. The show's humor comes from exaggeration, farce, and social awkwardness. Hyacinth has a reputation for over-explaining herself and correcting everyone. The Bucket's home is spotless. Hyacinth's obsession with cleanliness is extreme. The contrast between Hyacinth and Onslow is one of British TV's most beloved comic duos. They are hilarious anytime they have to interact. Hyacinth often invites herself to events she doesn't belong at. Richard is quietly exasperated, providing perfect comedic timing. Hyacinth has an exaggerated, almost theatrical posh accent. Onslow is often seen in tracksuits, lounging on the sofa with a beer in hand. Daisy in Onslow's house is a comedic counterpoint, messy, relaxed, loud. Hyacinth is obsessed with proper seating arrangements and etiquette. She frequently compares herself to better neighbors in social circles. Hyacinth's obsession with status makes her oblivious to Richard's subtle sarcasm. The show has a running gag. Hyacinth's visits often end in disaster. Sorry about that, guys. Patricia Rutledge described Hyacinth as delightfully outrageous and wonderfully pompous. Many fans dress up as Hyacinth for fancy dress parties because her look is so iconic. Fancy dress parties are almost like Halloween parties, from what I have gathered through my years of watching British television. Onslow's laziness is funny, but also surprisingly endearing. Hyacinth is obsessed with appearances, not substance, making her a comedic caricature. Episodes often feature Hyacinth trying to impress authority figures like Vickers or the mayor. Hyacinth's perfectionism extends to invitations, decor, and even conversation topics. The show has a cult following in the US, Canada, and Australia. Some episodes involve mistaking identity or accidental social faux pas. Hyacinth often overreacts to minor insults or slights. The humor is both physical, slapstick, and verbal wit. Onslow's deadpan responses often steal scenes. Richard has become a symbol of quiet endurance in comedy. Hyacinth's obsession with social climbing has been referenced in many British shows since. Patricia Rutledge won a BAFTA for her broader career, but is forever remembered for Hyacinth. Fans often cite Daisy's gentle tolerance as a contrast to Hyacinth's overbearing nature. Hyacinth's interactions with the postman or delivery people are always hilarious. The postman usually would sneak up to Hyacinth's door trying to make sure he didn't get hurt by her, because ultimately there was always some large talking to be had by Hyacinth towards the postman. So he would sneak up there, and then ultimately every time he'd be hurt and she'd open that door and start talking at him, and it would be the absolute worst part of his day every time he had mail for her. The show's theme music is jaunty and perfectly matches Hyacinth's frantic energy. Decades later, people still quote, laugh at, and love Hyacinth's over-the-top obsession with appearances. Sorry about that large noise right at the end of the video, guys. That's a lot there. Traffic, and some more traffic. Alright, guys. So that is it for some facts about the British sitcom